Hey there, Sean. I thought I would take a minute and put together a little video on how I usually build a map at a conference whenever we've got just a few minutes between one session and the next. I can usually get into the room before things get started so I can take a look. And very commonly, we've got a setup that looks something like this, where we got round tables with 5 to 8 chairs around them. And I've made us a little sample layout here. Let's just work from this little drawing, and we can keep this tucked over in the corner so you can see what we've got. Now I'm going to begin here by actually creating a course, and this one I'm simply going to call Sean Demo. And I'll maybe share this one with you as well, that way you can get it. Because of what you're up to, I will call this an Intro to Business course. We'll hit Save and Continue. And I want you to notice that as you first create the course, you have the opportunity right now to create a new classroom. I'm going to run on the presumption that maybe you've already made a class and maybe you've already built a few questions. So I'm not going to create a classroom right now. Instead, I'm going to save. That's going to drop us into the course. If you already have a course and from this point want to make a seat map, we're going to have to go to Settings. And here in Settings, now again, I've got the opportunity to make our classroom. So I'm going to create a new classroom. Remember, we're working from the room that I had up just a moment ago. We're going to have this room still visible in the upper corner. You can see we've got 5 chairs around each table. I'm going to start by giving this room a name. We'll call it Round Table Conference. Kind of fits. And before I start, I want to point something out here. I can add seats, but I want to give you a little bit of information in case you don't know this. Here under Instructions, it tells us a little bit about what the system needs in order to use a room for grouping. Chairs have got to be adjacent on at least a part of a side, and you can see as I zoom in here what they're talking about. So these first 3 sets would be available for grouping because the chairs in each case have at least a part of a side adjacent. This last one on the far right does not have any adjacent edges, so it would not be automatically grouped. So it's something to keep in mind. And with that, we're going to build a couple of table sets or a couple of chair sets and move on. We have tables that have got 5 chairs per table. So what I want to do is I want to make a block that is 2 by 2, and I'll just add that block size. I'll move this over to about right here. Then I want to add in one more seat, and for some reason, if you're adding a seat with a block selected, it's going to come in attached to that block set. I'm going to move this to the back center, and then I'm going to move these chairs just a little bit. What I want to have is part of the sides adjacent, and that is going to approximate our table layout and still let us have the ability to do grouping. So that's one of my table sets. I want to repeat that, and now I've got to add a block size. It's going to come in attached to that table. I wish it wouldn't do that, but it kind of does. I'm going to move these over, to drag this back. I'm going to add in one more seat. That's okay for me that does that. I'll put this back center, and I think you can kind of see what I'm doing now. I'm simply approximating that shape of the round table while being restricted to the size or to this format where I've got to have adjacent edges. So I'm just going to repeat that until I've got a setting of tables that are fairly close to the room layout. I'll do this back set of 3 so you can see what I've got there. And I'm going to trust that you can finish approximating this room and turning out something that looks like our sample there. So there's the first set of 3. You can lasso these and drag them to do some lining up so you can check and see that those are kind of aligned, and leave that right there. One little trick that I almost always do, you will see on your map the words front of the room and back of the room, and your audience will see that too. But as a visual clue, I almost always pop in one extra chair and put it in the front, and I make the joking comment, hey, this is my chair, nobody's sat here. And in fact, I will often come in as a student with the student view option in another tab, and I'll claim that chair, and sometimes show them how students participate as they're answering questions. So this is how I tend to create my room maps. It's obviously a little bit easier if you've got a more rectilinear layout, but round tables are not that tough to come up with. If by chance we had a grouping of 8 seats around a table instead of 5 like I've got here, that's not all that hard. And I know you can figure this out, but I'll go ahead and pop in one more of these blocks and pull this down here. And let's make that table set right there a setting of 8 instead of a setting of 5. Let's remove that one chair. I'll bring this in here, this in here, and that in there. Now that won't work. I've got to actually have a little bit more of a line. Oop, dang it. Tell you what, I've got to take that seat forward. That now will let that entire table group. So that is creating a workable seat map in Learning Catalytics for a conference with round table seating. I've got a session started using this particular course. I've got a few questions in here for you, and I'll share this with you, but I'm going to copy that current session number, and I'm going to right-click on Student View and open this in a new tab. I am now, as a student, going to join this session. I'm going to paste in that session number I just put in and join. And now I want to take a look at the seat map, and I will often show the audience this second student tab, and I will show them that I can appear as an instructor or as a student, and that gives me, as the instructor, the feel for what the students are seeing, and it lets me show this audience exactly what it looks like from both the point of view of an instructor and a student. Now, here's another key thing that I often do is I'm asking them to sign in. I show them the seat map, and they can see the seat map from the point of view of a student. By the way, notice as a student that the front of the room is up at the top of the screen and the back of the room is at the bottom. That's different than the instructor view, and it's kind of cool. It's a little personal touch. This is the place where I say, I am going to sit in this chair. You guys can have the chair you're sitting in. I'll click OK. And now, as a student, I'm actually waiting for the instructor to deliver the question. So I'm going to deliver this question. And as a student, I've got this one to interact with. By the way, for these sketch questions on a computer, they simply click and drag to put in their artwork. I like to do the maze. It's easy to understand, and it's kind of discipline agnostic. We'll submit that, and then they can see the thumbnails start to come in. I've done this, by the way, as a sketch, not composite sketch, because you'll often see 20 or 30, however many students you've got participating, come in as thumbnails, and you can hover over and show that. We'll stop this delivery now, and I will move on to another fun one that I've got built in. This one is the Africa thing that I mentioned to you. This one is great for creating group delivery. By the way, I've got pop-ups disabled on Chrome. You can see that coming in. The students here are supposed to select Kenya. It happens to be that course, that country right there. I'll select someplace away from that and turn that in. This is really commonly going to have about the right number missed to be a great group discussion. We can see the answers coming in here, and I will quite often assign groups with this question after they have had a chance to have a bunch of red dots coming in. One more that I want to show you here, and that would be this one. This is a region question that I like to do. You can see what I've done here. I've actually pulled in the former presidents, and the question is, select all former presidents and no one else to get full credit. I've put target areas around all the presidents, and the uniformed gentleman pushing President Bush is not selected. So we'll deliver that one. And on this one, the students have literally got to select every single correct answer and no wrong answers in order to be correct. So we have got a neat little question type that is kind of fun there. And you can see that I got all those right. If I come back in and add in that gentleman pushing President Bush, then that's going to be wrong. Even though I've got all the right answers. By the way, you'll notice that it wants me to select the correct number of targets here. We'll turn that in, and that's going to come in as wrong. So that's going to come in, yeah, that we have a wrong answer. Now, obviously, actual presidents are coming in as wrong because I've got at least one target wrong. It's a novel use of the region question that you may not have been aware of.